Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Moving Spotlight Podcast. I am one of your hosts, John Ruby, and here's my main co-host,
Corbin Coyle. Hey, everybody.
God, you should be the main host.
I should be. I don't know why you always do that.
I don't know. It's like you're Conan, and I'm the guy that sits. Andy Richter. I remembered his name.
Can we both be Conan?
Can we both? Yeah, double Conan. It doesn't work like that. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work like that. Okay, Corbin. Topic of the day for chit chat. I love chit chat. Skiing or snowboarding with all this snow we're having in Southern California. Yeah. What have you been skiing or snowboarding? Do you want to? Do you like that world? Do you like mountains?
Honestly, I've never been skiing or snowboarding. I don't
really.
I every time I was talking to Tina, and she's a big snowboarder, and she's really mad that I don't know how because she wants to go, but she doesn't want to teach me. So it's such a terrible dilemma. But I'm also like, I kind of get it. We don't want it like a snow day. You want to kind of go down whatever mountain choice you can do with your skill level. I kind of get it, but I really want to go. I've been to the snow. I have family in Minnesota. I just somehow missed the boat. I have no idea. I really want to go though.
First of all, her responsibility is to teach.
I know, that's what I tell her.
That's part of it. That's part of it. Okay. And then, and number two, otherwise you just got to get there, sneak a day in, and then be like, oh yeah, I think I kind of learned it, and then just be awesome.
But here's my other fear is like, I don't want to do like a coaching or whatever, like some sort of training, and then be like surrounded by like 8-year-olds and just like, and then them outperforming me, like, I don't know how, I need somebody who's going to teach me. And I also don't want to spend like $700 for a private one-on-one.
Well, yes. Well, first of all, they have kids classes and adults classes, Corbin. Most places
You're blowing my mind.
I know, I just blew your mind. That's how most things work. So don't worry, you won't be with 7-year-olds. But I'll tell you, I've been on the slopes, and there are 7-year-olds that could kick my butt in snowboarding. So don't worry about that either. But okay, well, first of all, I think that should be a goal. You got to get up on the mountain.
This year for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's great for people to start with skiing because I have done both, and it was kind of cool. My parents, grew up in the Midwest, so we grew up on skiing on tiny little mountains. In Wisconsin, there's literally a garbage dump that turned into a ski hill. That's how small they are. It was like, we got a big pile of garbage. Let's just turn that into a ski hill. Wow. Yeah, that's at least that's what I was told. But I grew up skiing, and then my dad and I learned to ski on the same trip together, which was pretty cool. So it took us like a day and a half. To snowboard together.
Gotcha.
Already skiing, snowboard together, and that was really, really fun to be up there on the mountain.
Do you have a preference between the two?
So I think skiing is like more in control. It's kind of like, it feels less wild, but snowboarding, if you want to go fast and kind of feel out of control, I think, in a good way, that's kind of cool. So they're kind of different goals, depends on who you're going with. And I did have a really lovely experience. 2020, my dad was on the mountain with me, and then my son was also skiing, and so that was kind of cool. That cool. Like three generations was all cool. That was like a very special trip for myself and to see that. So
that's nice.
So I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the snow. So yeah, definitely. We'll get you up there.
I gotta go.
Right? Yeah, it'd be awesome. Well, I want to get to our guest. I'm super, super excited. I've listened to her podcast. She's an actor, a podcaster. She runs One Broke Actress, the CEO of that. Sam Valentine, welcome to the show.
Hi, I would like you guys to know that the last time I went skiing, I ran over a child. So that's my intro to this show.
No.
Welcome to the show, Sam. Wait, what's the story behind that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming in hot. I mean, the story is that I was not raised athletically, and I'm not very good at skiing. The first time I went skiing was also in Wisconsin.
Oh,
wow. It wasn't the best place to go skiing for the
Watch
first
it, Sam. Watch it.
Careful. Some of us
are
from
nice.
there.
It's a little slushy. But I went to Colorado quite a few times in skiing. My husband's an incredible skier. So we don't ski like together. Yeah. We go together and then we meet for lunch 6 hours later. But there's a place in Salida, Colorado, where his family used to live, and I went skiing there. And it's just one really tall, basically mountain. And I thought I was on top of the world New Year's Day of 2021, I think it was. And I just some kid got right in front of me, couldn't make the turn fast enough, ran right over the kid. And that was the end of my skiing for that year. But I need to get back on the horse because now I'm too afraid.
No, don't be. Yes, you got to get back on the. Yes. You and Corbin can take private lessons. Don't tell your significant
You can
others
start over with me.
and then come back really.
Yeah. Honestly,
do-
technique is probably missing.
I do remember I studied in Germany during college, and I went on a date with this girl. This was in Munich, Germany, and I went on this date with a girl from Sweden and skiing, and I didn't realize she was like an awesome skier, but what was so funny, it was like out of a movie. She would go down before me and like perfect form, like just like going back and forth like scissor, and then I would just be like trying to keep up, like and then as soon as she looked back, I'd like try to get into perfect form, and then as soon as she'd look away again, I'd be out of control just to keep up. So I'll never forget, that was the funniest thing. It was like a total just like a con trying to look like I was comfortable and I was totally not. So
Yeah,
I
mean,
get it.
she knew.
She probably
Yeah, let's call it as we see it.
gosh.
She knew. She definitely knew.
Sam just with a flamethrower.
Yeah,
Just taking out
coming in
kids
hot.
and John. Just coming in
Hi, guys.
hot. I love it. I love it. Well, Sam, we're super excited you're here, and I love hearing that about your skiing journey. We want to pivot and talk about acting and how that world, you stumbled upon that world. Where did that start? It sounded like you spent some time in the Midwest.
Yeah. So the last time I was acting, I also ran over a child.
It just keeps happening.
What if that was like my shtick?
That was rough.
Wouldn't have lasted as long. So yeah, I'm from all over the Midwest too. Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Illinois. We moved all the time. Always lived in like the small town outside of the big town. And this was always what I wanted to do. I was always into acting. We pivoted. So we found like whatever morsel of it I could find, right? So whether if it was like a community theater or like someone's production, and they would let me like stand on stage in the beginning of it, like in St. Louis, or like any sort of little bit we could find that my mom could get me to on time, I would be a part of. In high school, it was like the Caffe Gymatorium. Like I did all my plays in there. And then I was like, this is great. This is what I'm going to be.
Wait. Out of all that,
it.
I remembered it all, but I also heard the Caffe Gymatorium.
Did you not have a multi-use room in your poor public high school?
Yeah, we called it a gymnasium, but I never called it a Caffe Gymatorium. It's amazing. I love that.
Yes.
With all of that, that is a multi-purpose room for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It functioned for everything.
So with all that, then, when did you kind of head west, young lady? When did that happen?
So my loving, kind parents, when I said I'm going to go to school for this, even though I have zero experience and there's no reason at all you should trust me to do this, they were like, okay. And I did it. And so I went to school. I ended up at Missouri State University. Me and John Goodman.
Yeah.
He's one of our grads. He, Kathleen Turner too, actually.
Oh, wow.
So I graduated there, and 2 days later, I roughly moved to Los Angeles, on fire. Cause I was like, this is the best part, is I was like, well, I like theater, but the practical thing to do is on camera.
Sure.
So the practical thing to do is move to Los Angeles. Little did I know, there is no practical answer. And I had never been on camera, really. I did end up doing a movie in college, and then just basically moved to LA with very little information, very little ideas. I had done a showcase here, and I was like, this town ain't never seen nothing like this.
Yeah.
And yes, they had seen a lot of something like this, and they were not interested in initially what I was offering. So it was a long, hard road to today.
Oh my God. I love it. Yeah, Sam, I told my dad when I moved here from Wisconsin, 2 years and I'll be a superstar. 10 years in, he's like, how are those 2 years coming? I'm like, just great. Same thing.
There should be like a dog year version of Los Angeles time. I think 2 equals 10, actually.
Yes, 100%. 100%. So technically I've been here 4 years. Amazing.
Yeah.
There you go.
You're doing so great.
Can I tell you, Sam, Corbin's one of those rare unicorns, an LA native.
I
Look
know.
at that.
Yeah. I've been here my whole life. Yeah. So I'm, what kind of dog years is that?
You don't get those.
I don't get those.
You don't get it. That's what I was gonna say, Sam. You don't get it.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
It's interesting to like a lot of people either love or hate LA, and I'm really glad that I grew up here. I think I got very lucky. I bounced around quite a bit at different parts of the city, but yeah, it's such a unique place to live. And I'm curious, when you moved here, What would you recommend to somebody? Because this is something I never understood, was like people coming to LA, like you said, just 2 days later randomly. How do you just do it? Like, and you'll just figure it out, or what do you recommend?
Well, I have to denote like my like white middle class privilege in that, right? To be
Sure.
able to go somewhere and just assume it's going to work out for me is just something, it's a very privileged person thing to be able to do or even have that thought. So in coming here, I was like, I will figure it out. And I did it all on, my own dime, my own time, whatever I wanted. But I had the consistent safety net of like, if I hit a wall where everything stopped, I could probably have called my parents and said, I need help. And they would have been there. They're incredible humans. So knowing that that was there was a gentle net of some kind, but I was way too proud to ever use it. That I came out here and I was like, all right, let's do this. And I was like, I got like $2,000 in a bank account as though that was like any money. And I was like, I could find a job anywhere. I'll do anything. My biggest piece of advice for people is always to sign short-term leases. Because of Corbin, what you just said, that every side of town is different. There's so much personality and there's so many different spaces in Los Angeles. I think it's one of the things that makes it so rad is that every sector of town is its own tiny community. It could be basically small states, and finding your area is a thing I think people often leave before they actually get to figure out.
I love that. I love that. Because you can kind of feel, like you're saying, every part of the city has a different way it breathes, a different sort of like personality that you can kind of get a part of. And I think you're right. I think people just haven't found, I really like K-Town, or I really like the West Side, Santa Monica. Like, yeah, I totally agree. I've never thought of that. I like that advice.
Yeah. Short-term leases. Yeah. Don't let them lock you in.
don't let them do it.
I like hearing that. Yeah, well, I had similar things, Sam, when I moved out here, but I had no shame. I would send my parents a little invoice for acting classes that they would help pay me back for, which was so lovely. I remember that. I think my mom kept one in a folder and showed me. She's like, remember when you were charging us for improv and scene study? I was like, I needed the help. I needed it.
As though you were like a business entity of your parents.
100%.
like your parents doing business as John.
Yeah, exactly. I was getting 1099s and stuff, W-2s. It was way over my head. And then when you got here hitting the ground running, did you find an acting class? Did you do improv? Did you do short films? Like, where kind of did you go with that stuff?
Yeah, I wish I would have gotten in class earlier because it would have found me some community earlier. I kind of thought that because I had an acting degree that I was above and beyond whatever acting class was for. Like, hot tip, that was not true at all. So I kind of floundered around for a while. The first thing I did was find a job. I had a job within like a week of being here, and that ended up being one of my first communities, which was lovely. I met an actress named Ashley Platts, who still works all the freaking time. We still keep in touch. She was like my first real actor friend. And she was the person who said, okay, here's where you can live. Here's where you can't live. Here's what we should do with you. Like, she was kind of my original manager. And that I'm still grateful for to this day, because I don't know if I would have made it without her. But I just got on the sites because first I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where you got auditions. I signed with a commercial agent very quickly from my showcase that I did before I moved here. And so I started getting commercial auditions very quickly, but then I didn't know how to get film or TV auditions. And I asked everyone, and some people, by the way, were like, we're not going to tell her. Don't tell her. Just quit. I don't know. There was a lot of gatekeeping back then. So it was like 2010, 2011. And the gatekeeping was, I think, a lot more intense than it is now. I didn't know where you got auditions. Where do you even apply for these sites? And so Ashley showed me, okay, you need to get on Actors Access. You need to get on like these. I was on LA Casting for my agent already, but, join Backstage, there was another one at that time, Mandy, I think it was. Do you guys remember Mandy? Yeah, I'm getting old. So that was another one of them. And so I got on those sites and started doing student films if I could get them, which it's funny because we tell actors just like start doing student films. And it's not like you just get them.
No,
you still have to audition
do the whole thing.
and work. Yeah. And there's still a lot of people who want those roles. So it's still quite a fight to get seen, even in the no pay sector. So I spent some time kind of starting to figure that out. And I think it wasn't until, I'm trying to remember, the first class I went to was because I ended up getting a manager who suggested I start getting in class. And I was like,
Me?
I have a degree. Like I have a bachelor's degree, which had 0 on-camera work. So like there was room for improvement, and there still is, I think, for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I think that's part of the journey, part of the process is like, going through all that stuff. And sometimes you have someone that can kind of shortcut some stuff or say, here's what we're going to do. Here's the next steps. But I do agree. I feel like there's more access to the information than there used to be. Yeah, because it was always, a little bit more challenging to kind of find stuff out. Now you can find stuff out, but now it's just like, okay, how do I, get that person, or how do I get their attention with there's so much stuff out there?
Mhm.
You mentioned getting a commercial agent, and I think that's a good thing. We haven't really discussed this on the podcast, but I always think, some people maybe, I don't know if they don't want to do commercials or stuff like that, but I worked in commercial casting a long time. And I think, one of my first agencies was Bobby Ball, and I booked a decent amount of commercials for them. And that helped me get kind of on their theatrical radar. You know what I mean? And you don't want to go in right away and say, hey, I'm going to leapfrog right over the commercial department to the TV and film. But I do think, that's one opportunity, because it's always challenging to try to find TV and film agents, because, it's very competitive, and they take less clients, and trying to figure that out. What did you find that helped you get more TV and film auditions, or try to find that, did you do more showcases, or what'd you find, Sam?
I kind of just started figuring this out in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent 8 years questioning everything. I've always done decently well in the world of commercial and print, and I assumed that always just translated to theatrical. There's such different mediums, and it's interesting to me that I hear what you're saying about people in their commercial auditions, and it almost feels like, well, you do commercials until you can do film and TV. And I even had like a 5-year plan when I graduated from college. And it was like, well, I'll do all of this, and then maybe I'll do a commercial on hiatus or something. As if I'm out here like, please God, Coke, like, please hire me. McDonald's, hello, here I am. Like, I'll audition for you every single day. I don't care. Because you realize that has such value in so many ways too, in not just the paycheck, which is also a lot bigger than doing a streaming show.
Sure.
And other ways of like meeting people, because really cool directors and producers do commercial work the way that we actors do commercial work, is that they like moonlight in it. So they're also working in the business. You're also meeting really cool people. And I know some actors who realized how fun commercials were, and they were like, I don't want to do film and television anymore. It's way too much work. I'd rather just do this thing where I do my facial expressions and leave for the day. And so I think it needs its due in that way. But I had a really hard time getting seen, or getting myself to a place where I felt worthy of representation. And the people I had along the way were helpful, and I couldn't have been anywhere without them. But I was kind of a name on a list, and I never felt like anyone's priority. And in 2020, what I realized is that I also wasn't really my own priority. I was working 4 or 5 jobs. I was running around town. I never felt worthy. Even though I had created a podcast and all this stuff, I only talked to guests. I didn't do anything by myself. I didn't think because I didn't have any credits, I wasn't worth sharing my opinion, or my struggle wasn't valid. And in 2020, when everything went on pause, and I finally got to take a deep breath and ask, like, what do I want this to look like? What do I want this world to be? Who am I now that I'm not 22 and brand new to LA anymore? And what kind of people do I want to work with me? And I had that chance to take a deep breath because everyone stopped working. So I wasn't sitting there lamenting my feelings, or woe is me, or everyone's working but me. And because I had a chance to get that bird's eye view of my own life, it started to change everything, because I shifted my priorities to, what do I want to do when I first wake up in the morning? What like lights me up? And that led me down the path of really expanding what One Broke Actress is, and the work I do with actors, and like how I share my day-to-day life. And that ended up opening up doors to where I got cooler meetings with better people, and people know like my name, or they want to see my work, and I ended up booking stuff, not necessarily because like I have a podcast, but because I started to respect my own opinions of the business and kind of stand in my own power. And that shift changed everything.
Mm. I love all of that, Sam. And I also was thinking about when you have 4 or 5 jobs, or when you're like, I'm just going to wait for TV and film, I'm not going to do a commercial. You need to have the energy to do things. Like you had the time to slow down and you had energy to focus on that. And I think that's a huge thing too, is like, because sometimes when people first move here, they're trying to do a lot of different things. And I get it. You got to pay your bills and stuff like that. Or your parents have to help pay your bills. But you got to pay your bills. But you use so much energy at the end of the day, you're exhausted. You don't want to be creative. You don't want to, you know what I mean? I mean, maybe if you're in a class like that night, you're like, okay. And in a class or improv, like that gets you going, which is great. But when you're by yourself and you're in your apartment, it takes a lot of energy to be like, okay, I'm going to study this play or these sides or whatever. And so I think with what you're saying, we do have a finite amount of energy, and you had that cool opportunity to kind of prioritize and do that. And I think sometimes we get so caught up kind of almost in the hamster wheel that it's good to try to step back and take a look and say, okay, am I prioritizing the things? Do I have the energy I need? Is this job, serving me or not? Towards my goals,
Oh, I love that energy, because I think we often think in terms of time, and that is a quantity that I do struggle with still to this day. Because I'm like, oh, I don't have enough time to do this. I don't have enough time to balance my friends and my relationship and my jobs and my but I think the term energy is actually more useful, because I don't know about you guys, but when I finish a heavy audition, it could have taken 30 minutes or it could have taken 3 hours. I mean, hopefully it didn't take 3 hours, but I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And I'm not about to like go create some content, or I'm not about to go record a podcast or something, because I need to like lay or to go for a walk, or to just like, you almost have to like mentally take the rest of the day off, because it's emotionally taxing. It takes a lot of energy. You're so right. That's such a good point.
Yeah, I think you need to like refill that battery. Like everything drains the battery at different speeds, and then depending on what you're doing or how long you need to recover, like if it's looking at Instagram or going for a walk or playing a game, like that's all stuff that you need to know about yourself. But you also have to know when you're like BSing yourself too. I think that's the hard line, is when you're like laying there and you're like, just another hour, and like that's the hard part, I think.
Yeah. Are there ways that you guys kind of know when you're taking a break versus like kind of procrastinating?
I don't do so. What I do is I try to set like a goal date or something. So I'll like write a check to a charity of my choice kind of thing, and be like, hey, like if I don't do this thing that I want to really do by this date, it has to be reasonable. We can't be like, book 10 lead roles. Like it's got to be like,
that's not in your control.
Like submit a for a festival or something like that. That is something I'll put it down in the check, and if I don't do it, I'll give it to my mom to cash it or something. So like I have that exterior force to make me do it. I don't always do that. It depends if I've been pushing it off. Like you kind of know. I think there's a part of you that goes like, I've been avoiding this because I'm scared or I'm whatever. So that's usually what I'll try to do to really kickstart myself. But it all depends.
Yeah, I will have my parents write a check to charity if I don't do it. Oh God, I was waiting to say that for so long, Corbin.
I was like,
I know.
John is weirdly quiet.
It was a layup. It was a layup. Sorry, Sam. Sorry, I had to.
It's okay. You have to write to the check to the charities of all the kids I've skied over.
Guys, I want a thing.
You got to figure it out. Figure out your own bit. Okay, don't take our bit. All right, we got our own bits over here. We've been working it. No, but I think it's a great point. I'm almost going to simplify it even more. I have always, I realized, and it pays off more and more now. I've always prioritized sleep. I sleep. I sleep like, I really, really do. It's like, and as I've gotten older and drink way less, I've also found like that's been such a great advantage. I think I just, it's fine to go out for friends' birthdays and stuff like that, but like, I've just found more and more, I just enjoy having a productive day way more. I'm married now and stuff, but like, I just find like if I prioritize sleep, that's one of my most important things I can do for my own energy, and good sleep. I think that's
so true. Cause like what's the phrase, like you steal tomorrow's happiness. Like, I think there's a bit of like tomorrow's just gone if you drink or, or you do something. Like just wake up early the next day and you can get the whole day to do something.
Yeah. And I also, I'll go to sleep like if I need to do something about stuff I'm stressed about. Otherwise it sits in my brain. It really sits in, I need to I have to. And so, but I don't mind going to sleep. I can go to sleep even if I'm stressed, but then in the morning it's nice for me because I feel refreshed and then I can attack it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, that's just, and then the other thing is I honestly feel like having, you mentioned community, but having like a partner, and this could be like an artistic partner or someone like that. I think that's always really helpful because on days you're down, they can be up. On days you're up, they can be down. And having someone else, it's not that they have to hold you accountable, but just someone else you can check in with and just say, this is going on. And they're not trying to top you or one up you. They're interested. They're curious. I think that's a really that person or people is a really great, great to have around,
Yeah. These are also both things that I think you benefit from being in this business longer that no one tells you. I think we're sold this lie of being like a hot teenager or 23-year-old or something in this business and being one of the kids on Euphoria. And that's the pinnacle of success. But to me, as the more I see actors as we get older, the more I see their lives being successful, not just their career. So they have rest, they have good relationships, they have community, they're not out drinking and partying every night because they figured out what actually fills their cup is not that. And then they're more fun to be with on set and they do a better job. And there's longevity to that. Whereas being the hot young thing in Hollywood, although we're told it's perhaps awesome or amazing or the thing to aspire to, is actually not that glamorous. And there's not a lot of longevity in that. So I think that's the gift of staying here as long as you can.
Yeah. Sam, how do you stay, because we're kind of on this track, how do you stay organized with acting, podcast, social media, YouTube? How do you kind of I'm curious to see your calendar. Is it color coordinated like Corbin's, or how do you do it?
Oh yeah, it's so color coordinated.
It's the best move, obviously.
Is it? Do you use Google Calendar?
I use Google Calendar. Yeah.
Oh, nerd alert, everybody! Nerd alert! Nerd alert!
When I meet people who don't use Google Calendar, I'm like, what?
How
are you doing? I live on Google Calendar. So I run One Broke Actress, which is all the various social media platforms plus podcasting. Plus I run a Patreon group with One Broke Actress, has 275 members.
Wow,
they get bonus podcasts, they get meetings, they get guest coachings, they get meetings with me and study halls and all this stuff. I also have my acting career to focus on, and I'm in Classic Groundlings. Also, cool. I private coach with a coach, and I have a full team of behind me with acting in terms of all the agents and managers. And then I also own a company called Fast Forward Production, which is a female-centered podcast production company. So my plate is full.
Yeah, it is. It's 2 plates. Yeah.
It's a lot of plates. It's a lot of plates. And I train pretty consistently in different fitness aspects. My husband's a trainer, so he trains me. So I work out 5 or 6 days a week. I have 3 dogs. We're full. But it's one, I don't have kids. So that takes that off my plate. I know there's a lot of people who are parents who were like, how do you do these things? And I'm like, I could not do what you do. So same. I pretty regimentally have my schedule set, and I do most of my daytime work between roughly 11 and 5 p.m. I try not to do things outside of that corridor unless it's acting meetings. So for example, tonight I'll work with my scene study partner, and tomorrow I'll coach with my coach. I try to kind of hit the ground running in the morning, and I get all of my physical movement done because then I know I'm going to sit at a desk for a while. Yep. And above all else, everyone in my life who works with me, so every one of my 5 or 6 podcast clients, everyone who works on my team, everyone in the Patreon, everyone knows, and my husband and anybody who makes time with me, anybody who makes a date with me, knows I'm an actor first. So there is always a chance we're going to have to reschedule, and I'll make it as easy for them as possible. I'll do all the back end. I'll refund money. I'll move things around, whatever we need to do to make it happen. But I'm always a maybe to every event, to everything. And I have to surround myself with people who know that that is just a consistency in my life and that it can't be a heavy thing. Because you guys know if you work so hard to get these opportunities, and the opportunity is always going to come at the worst possible time. It's always when it's about to be someone's wedding dress fitting or something other important that's like not super movable, and you have to bow out of things. And if you have the stress of the thing, plus the things you have to move, plus the emotional stress of people who are disappointed in you, it's too much. It's too heavy. I got rid of those people a long time ago in my life. I have to keep it. They have to be fluid with me because I'm in my 30s and this is like my building phase. And I hope in a couple of years to be more on the watching phase, a little bit less in the weeds every single day of this stuff. But for now, it's an ongoing project. So having people who are very forgiving of your constantly changing schedule and having everyone know you're an actor. I hear a lot of actors say that, I didn't tell my boss I'm an actor. Like, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. And also for when you get an audition, which should be the best time, you're adding another obstacle. And I personally do not like that path.
Yeah, you have to lie or find some way to get around it. It's just a way. And what if there's like a gig at your work? That probably won't happen, but maybe.
You never know.
So funny. So speaking of like being so busy and all that, how do you, and this is something that we relate with, but like, how do you find your guests? Like, how do you get, because it takes so much time to kind of like find people, make sure that everybody's, going to be excited to be on your show and all that. Like, how do you find guests for One Broke Actress, which is a great show, and you guys are always putting out great content for that reason.
Thank you. Well, it helps that I think of it in terms of seasons. So 12 episodes at a time. So, 3-month basically formats. We're kind of moving past that. We're a little more steady at this point. But I try to, as much in advance when I start to record the next podcast season, I plan out every single episode in advance. So I know who the guest is going to be, and I know roughly what we're going to talk about, and I make it around my One Broke Actress content calendar. So if there's, if I'm teaching a lot of things in terms of, like I have my working actor workshop, and it's a lot about, so you want to come to a big city and be a big actor. Great. Here's my list of priorities I think you should do. Here's what I think this is going to look like for your first couple of years. Here's an overview of how much this is going to cost. And so when I'm doing that type of workshop situation, I'll do a lot of content around newer actors. So, mistakes I've made, or guests who are looking back on their past right now, or people who are like coaches for new actors. So I kind of try to roughly keep a timeline of when things should be. And I just brought on someone to start doing my guest collabs. Her name's Marley, and she's also an actress. Actually, exclusively hire actors at this point in time, which is cool.
Oh, nice.
And I hope to keep it up.
I love that.
I love it. It's so fun. Great. And so she's reaching out to guests for me, but I get ideas because I'm in the space all the time. You guys know, you'll hear something. I'm like, oh, someone from SAG who just negotiated contracts. I'd like to have them on. Or, oh my gosh, I just saw an entertainment lawyer. Let's see if we can get them. Or just being in and about the space. I also have a backlog of people who have volunteered to be on the podcast. But I will tell you, at this moment in time, a lot of people who are volunteering to be on podcasts or pushing themselves to be on podcasts are promoting something. And my show specifically, I try my best, although it's not 100%, to keep it people who want to talk about the business or the creative thing or how their business relates to actors. So for example, we have a dermatologist coming on. She's going to talk about taking care of your skin for males and females. Should you consider Botox? How much sunscreen do you need as an actor? All that stuff. Specifically about acting. And I try to keep it away from the promote-y work, because you can see the actors who make the circles when they like have a movie come out and all that stuff. And you kind of get the same talking points. And I want to know, like, what was your first manager like and how did you break up with them? Like, I love a detail. Yeah.
Have you had anyone promote sexiness on your show? Because I could do that. If you need that
Wow,
It's all
that's my
John.
If that
first.
needs to be promoted. Just throwing it out there.
That's
You don't
my
need to pick
first
that up.
offer. Wow.
John, she didn't say yes.
What?
That's all I know.
Okay, well then offer rescinded. It's only on the table very quickly. It's back. I take it right back. I love that. I love the planning that goes into that. The organization. That's really smart, Sam. I think that's really
Thank you.
wonderful. I just am curious. Is there anything that pops in your brain of like great career advice, or like anything teachers said earlier on, or even recently that's really kind of stuck with you? Like any things that you try to keep in mind? It doesn't have to be a saying or a slogan, but I'm just wondering, stuff like that. Anything that sticks in your brain?
My friend Jenna is also an actress, and she said something, it was months ago, but it's just stuck in my brain. And we were talking about self-tapes and how there used to be all these unwritten rules of like how you shoot it or props or whatever it is. And we've taped together for a long time. And she turned to me and she goes, basically, they should just tell people, like, do whatever it is you have to do to not feel like an asshole.
I love that.
I was like, it's so true. Because we used to be so weird about, it needs to look like this, or this is how it should be. And now when you see, like, luckily for social media, so many people share their tapes now. And it's like, here's what I sent in, and here's what it looked like when it booked. And it's very rarely the exact same thing, first of all. And there's no consistency in rules. It's whatever worked for that role. And, if you're going to be in a car and you need to be in a car, great. If you feel like an asshole in the car and you just need to hold on to a steering wheel that we can't see, great. Like, if you're drinking wine, please put something in your cup. Like, whatever it makes you not feel like a clown or that you're doing something crazy, because sometimes you're getting tapes that feel crazy. And then it's especially with like commercial auditions filming at home. They're like, okay, so you're going to jump off the Empire State Building and then land in Washington, D.C. and look around, but be shocked, but happy. And it's like, what the fuck is going on?
What is happening?
See, I knew I'd drop an F-bomb eventually. If I had dropped one already. Is that my first one?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
no,
Oh, that was really good for me. I was really worried about this. I've been in the restaurant business for far too long. But I think that is because that is so the new normal, and because we're kind of acting in these like little circles now, like very, not as often are we going to classes, although it's happening again. Not as often as we're going to auditions. It's, you have to make it your own. And I didn't understand what that meant for so long. And I think that sentence really encapsulates it. Just like, do whatever you need to do to not feel like an asshole. And if that means changing a word, as long as it's not Sorkin, change the word.
As long as it's not Sorkin is perfect.
Yeah.
Sam,
and not be what you think they want. I think that was a great piece of advice I got, and didn't interpret well for myself for a long time, because I could see a role on paper and I could see what it was going to look like on camera. And then I would try my best to do that instead of see what I would look like in that role, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Sam, I think you'd appreciate this. I was running a callback for a commercial, and the guy logged on and he was on his boat. It was so funny. Like on a boat, like literally, like he was like behind the wheel of the boat. I was like, it was really funny. Yeah, it was.
Was it an audition that was supposed to be on a boat?
No, no, it was not. That's why it was so funny. I wish it was. It would have worked. It totally was distracting. It didn't work, but it was really kind of hilarious. I just thought with what you were saying, it was really funny. So I guess, it was it was an interesting. That was a really kind of funny one. With what you were saying, I think one of the things I also think about is how to find that, like how to put pressure on yourself to stay ambitious, and then but also like not be so stressed out. I just heard something that I really liked. Let me see if I can find it here. It's everything to achieve and nothing to prove. I really liked that. Everything to achieve and nothing to prove. And I think about that too, because like my journey and maybe your journey, like I would have never predicted 90% of all the stuff either I've done or that's happened. But then when I look back, I always say like you can kind of see like the lily pads you went from this to this, and then it makes sense. But looking forward, you can try to be like, well, I want to be a series regular and I want to do 3 commercial, like, and you don't know any of that stuff. It's not that it's random, it's just more chaos in a sense. You don't know exactly when it's going to happen. And I think that's an interesting thing of like kind of trying to let that pressure off yourself and just know if you enjoy the work, if you're committed to the work, if you're working hard, like things are going to happen. But it's so hard when you want things to happen quickly in specific things.
Oh, it's so hard, right? And that, how we talked about the LA dog years of, it took me 10, I'm approaching on like year 12 in Los Angeles, and I'm just now getting seen. I'm just now barely starting to book the work that I think I should be booking. I'm just now figuring it out. And if you would have told me like, hey, Sam, you're going to develop an actor membership and you're going to take care of other actors, but you're also going to share very openly that things aren't always going well. And you're going to do it all with your voice and your face. And you're going to just like it. I would have thought you were a crazy person. I was like, no, that I need to be the epitome of success in order to share what success looks like. And I'm so glad I'm not doing that, because that sounds exhausting. And I think I have the people in my life I have for that reason, for where I'm at. And I'm excited. I'm optimistic. And I love what you said about not making the goal like a booking. I do in my Patreon, we would do quarterly goal settings. And I'm like, you can have something in the career bucket, but it cannot be book something, because you have no control over that. You can do the best work and you can be pinned and they can love you. And the director will bring on his nanny for the role. And I know that because I've been the director's nanny and he's brought me on for a role. Like you just cannot control where that goes. So if you can instead find how this looks good for you is it's so different than what I thought I would look like. Like I do a lot of dubbing. I dub Netflix shows into English a lot. I love that job. Fun, yeah. It's so fun. And I get to watch other shows and I get to act and I get to try and match another character's emotions and their facial features. And it's so challenging and something I never thought I would do. I've done, I think like 10 or 12 shows now. And that I go to work and I do that. And then I come home and I get to like podcast. Like, this is pretty cool. I had no idea that this is what my career would look like at this age, but it's pretty cool. And if I was pushing back against that and being like, no, this is not what I pictured, this is not what I wanted, I wouldn't be able to sit back and say, this is pretty cool. I wouldn't be able to enjoy the moments, which then opens more doors because I show up in spaces excited to be there. Like I was like, yeah, let me go podcast with these guys today. I'm so excited. This is cool. Like different kind of voices, different spaces. Let's have a chat. And if I was, if you have a different energy, it changes how you walk into a room and it changes if people want to work with you or not.
I think that's so very true. I think it's so, I don't know, it's so nice to hear somebody else say that. You know what I mean? Like it's such a thing that nobody says, and it's so simple, but also very complicated. I don't know. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Do you think I could do dubbing? With this voice, good as a dubbing voice.
I think it's perfect. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Speaking of, you said, do you want sexy on your podcast? All of the characters I do are like sexy. It's like hot English teacher, and it's the weirdest thing in the world, you guys, because if you've ever, anybody's out there has done dubbing, there's always weird sex scenes in foreign projects.
That's
like
funny.
they're like weird, and it's all for Netflix, so it's like real intense. And I'm like,
you're trying to match
pretending yes, and you have to match it, and so you're matching their inflections and like the moans and the breaths. And meanwhile, it's like one really nice but super nerdy sound guy on the other side of the glass wall, like he's just typing away, like making it fit. It's the weirdest job in the world.
Oh, that is weird. I wonder if it's weirder for him. Like, what's the weirder job?
I think so. That's
got to be the weirder one, right?
I think it's weirder for him. I like that's how I do it.
Yeah, that's so fun.
I love it. Well, Sam, this has been just lovely. There's been so much just golden nuggets and just great advice and great thoughts. We have one final thing we like to do, which is we call your best bad acting. And so we're going to give you a fun quote. Okay. We thought this was appropriate for you. And the idea is you can go over the top with it. And we might give you a redirect just to have fun. But the point is not to be good. You don't have to imitate the actor or actress who did it. Do you recognize the quote? Do you see it there?
Okay, hold
We
on.
put it in the chat, so if you can get to it.
Oh my God, yes.
Was this gonna be fun? You're gonna like this? We thought this was a fun one.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a dream.
But now that we heard what she really does in dubbing, change it, Corbin. Let's change it up. We're gonna do something else. No. This is good. This is a good one. Okay, so whenever you're ready, just for fun.
Okay, so you just want? I'm just gonna give this to you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's do it. So unprepared. What a cold read. Well, before the sun sets on her 16th birthday, she will prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and fall into a sleep like death, a sleep from which she will never awaken.
Wow. Ooh, that was like a spell. That was like a spell. That was like a spellbound.
So good.
Okay.
Ursula vibes.
Oh, that's so good. Corbin, do you have something? Otherwise, I got an idea.
You go first.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to
Oh, yeah,
think of
make
a
it
good
weird.
redirect. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I feel like she needs some sort of laugh or cackle, something fun. So give her something fun in that. And then, can we do more like, I don't know, can we do more like a stereotypical witch in a fun way or whatever that could be, like more like Halloween feeling? Let's just see where that goes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Before the sun sets on her 16th birthday, she will prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and fall into a sleep like death. A sleep from which she never awaken.
So good. Thank you.
Oh my God, that was great.
I think I can cancel with my acting coach tomorrow.
Yeah.
Done.
I
You're
think
done.
so.
You
Yeah.
don't need it.
You got
I
this.
think we're done. You know,
Send
did
this
you
clip
hear
out.
Did you hear? I have a BFA and I run over kids while skiing.
This is amazing. And you can do this. You can do this. That laugh. That was amazing. Sam, that was amazing.
So I have nothing. I can't top that.
No
That
notes?
I have no notes.
No
That
notes.
was
No notes.
amazing.
No notes. No, we reached the mountaintop there, Sam.
Did I book it?
You booked
Yeah,
it. You booked the gig.
100%.
You booked the gig. Angelina Jolie out. Sam Valentine in. You're in the sequel, all right? It's direct to Netflix,
What a
but
day.
you're in the sequel. We're not going to theaters with this one.
Listen,
That's
I
okay.
will
That's okay.
take it.
I'm in.
I will work
Corbin's
for
in.
scale and I
Right.
will take it.
Wonderful. Sam, this has just been lovely. What a great energy you have. And, for everyone out there, if they want to find more information, I know you mentioned One Broke Actress, but what's like the website or social medias or what's out there? Yeah.
Everything's One Broke Actress. OneBrokeActress.com has like kind of everything, but it's One Broke Actress on Instagram is definitely the most useful place with lots of things. And then the podcast is One Broke Actress. And then our production company for female voices for podcasting is Fast Forward Production.
Fast Forward Productions. Great. Awesome. Well, this has just been lovely. It's been so wonderful having you on. I mean, I think you're just a wonderful guest and it was so great for sure. So thank you, Sam.
Thank you guys for having me.
day.
I'm so happy.
You're welcome. Bye. Thank you for listening to the
Moving Spotlight Podcast.